Hey everybody, this is Allison from AllyKatzkreations. How are you? I have a lot of notes. A lot of goodies. Why? Because we have to go over the principles. Why else? It's absolutely important. Before I go into, I went into 3. Now I'm going to finish the 4, and it's going to be a while. So stay tuned. Before I start, please hit that like button. Please subscribe. Share is caring. Sharing the knowledge is wealth. If you get anything from my channel, knowledge, epiphanies, light bulbs exploding, connecting dots, finding new reading material that you're connecting with, please consider supporting my channel, me. It helps me keep my lights on, keeps me fed, and keeps me sane. Of course, as soon as I come on, the random loud muffler noises, combustion systems, although these people, you know, we live in our an Orwellian world where everything here has cameras and sound microphones. Yes, New York, if you have a loud car, you're getting a fine. Yeah. I'm not against those things, but to an extent I am. Yeah. Why I held up doing all of the 7 principles from the Kybalion was because the major 3, I mean, they're all major in their own ways, but like the ones that have reverberated in frequency throughout all the books that I read, and all of them, especially the Law of One, is the principle of polarity. And this is something that I've been stressing majorly in a lot of my videos, because a lot of people need to understand the principle in itself, but also the fact that we encompass both polarities, and the evildoers that you think are evil are just catalysts that we need to forgive and release out of our lives, because that's how we get to our attainment. I have to reposition my laptop. Give me a second. I have a sleeping kitty on the arm of the chair. The principle of polarity. Quote, everything is dual. Everything has poles. Everything has its pair of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. Extremes meet all truths are but half-truths. All paradoxes may be reconciled. End quote. The Kybalion. The quote expresses old Hermetic axioms. The notion that everything varies in degrees and vibration can be inserted here. It's all one with 2 extremes colliding together. We could see this with darkness and light, each having varying degrees. 2 poles where one leaves off, the other begins. When applied to the mental state, applying it to emotions, we all have varying degrees and vibrations to transmute, either extreme to come to a midway point to balance. Love and hate can vary on degrees. The midway point is like and dislike. All transmutable by vibration. Shifts in one's consciousness. Mental alchemy. You have the power to transmute this at will. As much as we want to be perfect humans, we're not perfect humans. We have both ranges of emotions. One day you can be a bitch. The other day you can be a cunt. The next day you could be a beautiful, happy, amazing human being. We encompass both. And we give different varying emotions of ourselves to different people. There are some people in the world you cannot tolerate. You just feel their energy and it's like brick wall, no. And then there's other people that you just want to give a hug and a really long hug to and emote amazing feelings. You have both of those sides in you. There's varying degrees of everything. There's different vibrations. So again, you pluck the guitar string, you're on sub octave of 3, but you're also reverberating in sub octave 3. So there's sub, and then you have your 4, your octave, and you're going in between, and you're never at rest. That's another principle as well. You're always vibrating. So there's varying degrees of vibration that you emote with your emotions. In polarity, it's the same thing. Now the question becomes, how do you balance your mindset? How do you allow certain things to just roll off your shoulder so you're not going through the pendulum swinging? You want to be in the midway. Midway is the safest. It's not to say that you're not human and you can't experience hate or love. It's to say that in your everyday life, in your moment-to-moment life, you want to emote in the balance of neutrality, where you're balanced. You don't feed either pole, you're in the middle. So I really enjoy this site. It's the wanderingalchemist.com. I'll leave the link in the description. Genius. The guy who wrote a lot of this is genius. Reading through the Kybalion, it gives a description, but other people put things in better wording, or easier ways to understand and comprehend. So he writes, the principle of polarity shows us that spirit and matter are opposite poles of the same thing, the intermediate planes, being merely different rates of vibration. In Hermetics, it is believed that the all and the many are the same, the difference being varied degrees of mental manifestation. The principle of polarity gives us a clear vision of how transmutation works. Transmutation is not changing one thing into an entirely different thing, but changing the degree of the same thing. So it's like you're angry and you're upset, and you stop yourself when you feel those emotions rising up within you, even if it's instantaneous. You could put a halt to it and ask yourself why. And by changing your mindset and doing some transmutation, okay, I don't need to be this extreme. I can dislike it. I don't need to be a fan of this. Whatever the emotion pops up, the person, the place, the thing that made you feel that way, got you triggered. You can put in your mindset, okay, this is external for me. I don't need to pay it any mind. Why is it triggering me? And then bring your mindset into looking at the positives, the pros, instead of all the cons. And you need to have an equal balance. This understanding will allow the alchemist to view his or her own mental state as matter of degree of a specific emotion, thought, or feeling. The alchemist will be able to raise or lower their vibration at will, becoming a master of his or her own vibration. Because we are always in a vibrational motion. We don't stop. We continuously always vibrate. To heighten your vibration to a higher plane of existence, it needs to be steady. You need to pluck the string hard enough that it reverberates on a higher level of sound frequency. If you keep thinking negatively, you're going to get the negative law of return response. If you think positively, you get the positive response reverberating back to you. So it's whatever you put back out there comes back to you. So, and it's not instant, sometimes it can be. But you have to really think about your mindset. And how to change your mindset is to be consciously aware of when something starts to trigger you. You need to stop in your tracks, take a few breaths, come back into a neutral form, and ask yourself, why is this making me this angry or this upset? Why? And it's hard to do in a moment when it's with other people or you're in a situation, there's a lot of stimulation going on around you. But this took me a few years to grasp, because a lot of my emotions and a lot of the things that triggered me, I was not consciously aware of why it triggered me. I just knew it pissed me the fuck off. And a lot of the things that triggered me were external things that there was nothing, not to say that you as one person can't do something about it, like the homelessness and mental illness situation that is an epidemic in Manhattan. I would get off my express bus every morning and I would pray and put a shield and do whatever I could just to get from the bus stop to the school building safely. Because that's how it's terrifying when you don't know what is out there that's going to do things to you. And there were hammer attacks, slashings, rapes, all kinds of stuff happens on the streets of New York that you don't hear in the news. They don't publicize all of it. They do a lot more now to scare you, but I witnessed it, walked it, did it every day. Why did that make me angry and triggered? Because I don't want to see anybody else get hurt. I don't want to see an old grandma get stabbed for some dumb stuff when that could have been taken care of with money that was stolen or mismanaged or funneled through. And it's not to say that that's a catalyst that old woman needed, but there's other things that could be put into a catalyst to help change somebody's paradigm, not something of violence and something that goes against nature. The polarity shift in a mindset needs to come internally. you can try any way to write a letter, to write an email, to voice your opinion, to march, to go and make some waves, but you got to do it on a collective level for something that big to make a change. And even then, this system is rigged and it's corrupt, especially here in New York, that it shows, but it doesn't really do anything, sadly. I mean, it's the truth. You can have millions of people walk over a bridge, Brooklyn Bridge, and hold signs and wear t-shirts and have amazing speeches about corruption and what have you. It hasn't changed anything. If the legal system is bought and sold and the judges are bought and sold, you can outwardly wake people up that way. Yeah, sure, great. You're waking a collective up to some injustices, but on a greater scale, nothing gets done. So we have to think about our mindset in the greater scheme of things. So I had to learn how to not get triggered by such things that I can't have any control over. And there's not, I can put my energy into writing an email or, walking across the bridge to make me feel better about that I'm trying to put a good step forward. But in reality, it doesn't do anything to make that change. I got to do it internally and walk away to balance myself out, to be in a neutral stance. So I also got from dreadavinci.com. Polarity is the state of having two opposite or contradictory tendencies, opinions, or aspects existing in one plane. This embodies the idea that all manifested things are dual. Everything has two poles and everything has its opposite. Everything is and isn't at the same time. We are all nothing and something at the same time. We have blends of polarity continuously governing our lives. Life cannot be just one thing or another. It is all the shades and colors, and that is why such vast beauty exists. What part of the spectrum am I embodying is a really good question to ask yourself. So we want to always, when you think of polarity, you think of black and white, you think of hot and cold, but there's varying degrees in between that. We wouldn't have Roy G. Biv if it was just black and white. You have tones, hues, and shades in between all the colors and all the spectrums. You might not be physically able to see them. I thankfully have that special chromosome that I can see in between all the hues and the tones of a color. So nothing is literally black and white. There are degrees in different variations and vibrations within between all of it. It's now, where do you fall and how do you get to the midpoint balance? You have your two ends of the pole. You have your positive, you have your negative, and the pendulum swings. You want your pendulum to land mid. And do you want it to come closer to the positive, or are you really acting negative? And that could be your temperature gauge for your emotional state, mental state, spiritual state. Where do you want to land? If you're thinking negative, you want to come to a balance point. Of course, you want to stay on the high, but that's not how your 3D human body works. You wake up one day, you don't feel good. Not because you're thinking negatively, it's just because you really don't feel good. You still want to have your mindset come to a midway point. Okay, it's not the end of the world. I don't feel good. So you know what I should do? I should meditate. I should rest. I should ground my energy. Maybe I need a nap. Maybe I need to put on some binaural beats, whatever have you. I don't know if I would want to stay in the exhilarated happy point all the time, because that's not logically my personality. I like to be, you know, I'm an Aries, I'm a feisty one. The next principle is the principle of rhythm, which also ties in with polarity, by the way. They all tie together. Don't get me wrong. They all tie in together. It is a beautifully crafted orchestra of principles. It's for real. I don't lie. If you've been watching me and watching my channel and what, like how certain books are starting to weave together, there's certain concepts in certain books that, like your Rancho book is talking about how the government is working upstairs and all the beings and the different things that they do. And then you read the Keys of Enoch, and then you see that there is a pyramid of beings that have special things. And then you hear somebody on YouTube talk about, oh yeah, no, you have ascended masters, you have spirit guides, you have this, you have that, and they all have different jobs and different things. Well, same shtick. So they're all weaving in different areas and different, methods and ways. They all weave in together somehow, some way. This weaves into everything. They were onto something. Principle of rhythm. Quote, everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swing manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. End quote. Quote, this principle embodies the truth that in everything there is a manifested, a measure motion, to and fro, a flow in an inflow, a swing backward and forward, a pendulum-like movement, a tide-like ebb and flow, a high tide, a low tide between the two poles, which exist in accordance with the principle of polarity. Reaction always has an action. Action always has a reaction. So this is from mindbodygreen.com. Closely related to the principle of polarity, the fifth principle states that between the opposing poles, there exists an inherent rhythm. We inhale and exhale. Everything is in motion. Understanding this principle allows us to recognize our lives and the universe's natural rhythms, so we can actually work with them rather than having them work against us. End quote. The pendulum swing of emotions, we can find the midway point and balance the polarity so you don't hit either extreme. That's how one can come to a master of this principle. The wisdomtavern.com states, through contemplation, we can see that nothing in this world lasts forever. It's true. That is, everything in this physical world is destined to perish, because this is supposed to be a temporary place for our soul to learn, not a permanent dwelling. Thus, the flow of life on this material planet is there to test us, not to grieve over things that have passed by, and not to be self-indulged in the goodness of life. This law is manifested as the rise and fall of nations, the change of seasons, and the principle of action and reaction. I wonder if the Schulman resonant is spiking right now. I just got a major high-pitched buzzy in my ear. Sorry about that. It's still going, but that took me out of surprise. So the rhythm also is talking about the cycle of things. We have the seasons, how we have winter and summer, and it's either really bitterly cold or really, really hot. And then you have the in-betweens, you have spring and fall, where it's not so hot, it's not so cold, and both vary in degrees for the both extremes. And the same thing with life. You were born and your physical avatar, vehicle, whatever you would like to call it, meat suit, has a birth and a death. Your energy doesn't die. You just transform it. But in the material physical plane that we call 3D, we have cycles. Everything has its season. There's peace, there's war, there's peace, and we can't go based on the simulation that is being played out right now. I talk about that in my World of Warcraft, and I really urge those of you who haven't watched that, the simulation one isn't as long, and I at least go to the comment section. I did post some channels to go watch if you're interested in a simulation content. Decode Your Reality, I want to believe it is. He talks about the Truman Show. He goes and decodes the Truman Show, and he has Jason Bashir's. He does an interview with him, and they talk about the simulation. I talk about the simulation as if it's a video game that I've played for 14 years. So I take it on a different twist, but nonetheless, something to be, if you're curious in it, really good content. This brings us in the principle of cause and effect. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for law not recognized. There are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes the law. Quote, everything happens according to law. Nothing ever just happens. To use this principle, one has to play the game of life, not to be the pawns manipulated, and move it to be the cause and not the effect. Think about that. This is from the wanderingalchemist.com. Nothing comes from nothing, and everything that we see in our world is a result of causes. Most humans go through life being moved around like pawns on a chessboard instead of playing themselves. The principle teaches us that we can rise above the realm of being others' effects into becoming beings of causality. The Hermetic principle of cause and effect is a tool to take back control over one's life. With principles of mentalism and vibration, the alchemist is able to conquer moods, characteristics, qualities, and power, transforming themselves from a pawn into a mover of the pieces on the board, overcoming past traumas and thoughts and emotions tied to those traumas, enabling them to act with greater conscious awareness. The master of this principle can consciously manifest what their heart wants. This also goes into the catalyst game with the law of one. In karma, you set something into inertia, into motion, And until you forgive and release, it doesn't stop. It keeps cycling out. The rhythm keeps going. The vibration keeps vibing, right? So when you, I don't play chess, but if you're thinking about it like a chess game, you want to be the higher pieces that make the power moves, not the pawns that get taken and manipulated. So this is really about taking your consciousness and raising it, raising your vibration, getting off this simulated plane and rising above it, and start playing the 5D chess game. Where there's move, there's counter moves, there's moves and more counter moves and more moves, but there's always control. Always control. When you can heal your past, your traumas, the things that really like set you back from moving forward, allowing those and releasing them and forgiving them, because they were just catalysts to give you some learning and teaching. This is a school. This is Earth. This is third density of duality, the two poles of polarity. You have to have both in order for this existence to even work. And you need to choose with your free will, where do you stand? And a lot of people are unconscious to this idea, because you wake up, you brush your teeth, you take a shower, you do your hair, you put clothes on, you go out and do your job, you come back, you make dinner, you take the kids, you watch some TV, you have some ice cream, if that's what you do, you brush your teeth, you take a shower, and you do it all again. And it's a repetitive cycle, back and forth, back and forth. And then you have your day off, and then I have all these errands to do. I have to go grocery shopping. I have to do X, Y, and Z. I want to take the kids to the park. I want to do X, Y, and Z. And everything is always and you're not sitting and you're not doing much thinking, because you're always in a grind. You're always constantly in motion. And there's some catalysts to stop you so you could think and to calm you down, or something is put in there because you need a lesson. But that's perpetually what we are living in. Many people, vast majority of people are living in this structure of a simulation, and you got to get out of it, or at least acknowledge that you're in it, like the Matrix. Those people knew that they're just playing a role. But there were others who had to take that pill to wake up out of it. And this is asking you to do the same thing. You want better things to happen to you. You have to cause better things in your life to happen. I know for myself, and again, things don't manifest. We're still in third density, guys. Some people have the vibration magic to things just do this. For others like myself, I have to do everything 20 million times harder for things to come and manifest in my situation. But I'm coming every day and doing a video or a few videos each and every day, because this is something I'm very passionate about. And I'm putting it out into the ether that I'm trying to help people. I'm trying to put information out that will better people and have people think deep down into themselves and start questioning a lot of things. I think that's a noble cause. And I hope the effect is that more people start waking up and start realizing that you are the master and controller of your universe. Yes, we live in a time where things are compoundingly a lot harder. I listened to a wonderful woman and an interview today. I don't recall the name of the channel and what have you, but the woman is a starseed, but can look beyond a lot of the planes of existence and is connected in a very, very in-depth way. And she was basically saying that, yes, reality that we are living in, there are things that are outside of our control that is inhibiting us from moving forward, that there are timelines and in the multiverse, things that are occurring out of our purview that is hampering us, but some of it is for the good, that it reverberates down. So all these changes the universe is making, because we're going through a different part of the universe right now. We're actually trying to get back to where we originated from. We were taking out of the grand scheme of things, and now we're being placed back because we're ready. Consciously awakened souls are ready to go back. The problem is the changes in the universe are now just reverberating here, and there's a lot of chaos, confusion, a lot of things happening in our paradigm that are kind of holding us back. Again, it's in divine timing and laws that are beyond our comprehension, that all these things are happening. I always say things happen in divine timing. But some stuff is just very unbearable. And this is at this time where collectively, not an individual, but collectively, because we are all attached, we're all one and the same. All of us. Sorry for many of you who watch me. We are all one and the same. And what I've been feeling is very invisible, not to the people who find me and that spirit's connecting to. I get a lot of emails that people are like, oh, I found you. And it was like spirit brought me to you. You have a message that I need to hear, or you have a book that you read that I need to read because it's going to open up a paradigm for me. And I get them all the time, and it's so humbling. Things have to happen like that on a greater scale. The problem is, and what I'm trying to bring attention to, especially on the political front, is that you preach and you don't do. So, for example, there are people hurting right now. The gas prices are really ridiculously high for everybody, but everybody just seems to be out and about and going on about their lives like nothing's wrong. Let's pay for this, right? Because I have no choice. Okay, so that's one. But what happens to the people who are hand to fist, paycheck to paycheck? The prices keep going up, and now they can't afford to get to work, and there's no. In certain places, there aren't transportation out there for them. And even that is expensive. And or is impossible for some people to get to. What do? There's nothing in place to help these people out. And no one's coming together and rallying together to figure out a solution that's outside of a government body. Because again, everybody always lands and falls on this government concept, that government, all these things. Yes, we pay taxes and it's really highly annoying. Nothing really works for us. Wait until you find out where it really goes. You'll be pissed. But I am putting it out there. Okay, so you have all these sayings and catchphrases and stuff. But at what point are you really helping out the common everyday person that just had their job ripped away from them and now they're stuck? And then you condone them for doing an act because they needed to keep their job, but you're not doing anything for the people that chose not to do an act. And they're now suffering because they made a choice that you actually are for, but no one's doing anything about to help them get out of their situation to better themselves. And that doesn't need to come financially. That's about giving jobs, coming up with solutions, having people who have abundance could be doing more in spreading that abundance. It's not difficult. But again, we need to collectively come together. Yes, there will be the downfall of humanity. It's not going to be the apocalypse. We're not all going to die. There's going to be a lot going through between now and next summer that on a conscious, spiritual, mental level, we all need to do a lot of inner work, and we really need to keep balanced all these principles. That's why I'm covering this book now. It's all about divine timing. This book is extremely important to understand the principles. You don't need to be into Hermeticism or occulty type philosophy to understand that this applies in science. This applies to life. And we got to do better as a society, as a humanity, as a collective. We all need to speak out more. If I had financial backing, don't think I wouldn't have a website and get companies to come together to give jobs to people who lost them for the mandates. And as much as they say that there are websites, it's state to state difference. And it shouldn't just be remote jobs. It should be jobs you can walk in and do. What field you were in should be complemented there. It's tough. And that's just an example. There are so many other examples I can give. That hits home for me, and it's easier for me to explain. But we really need to, I've been working on healing that trauma of going from having what I need. And I mean, I was living paycheck to paycheck, but I had the means in which to pay my bills. Now to nothing. And how do I emotionally handle that? And of course, my pendulum was swinging back and forth every day. And now I just come to I'm calm about it. I acknowledge that I feel the way I do, and I release it. And it's an everyday constant battle. And many of you could be doing that with relationships, with people that you work with outside interference, your family. It could come from any angle from you. Take it how it resonates. It's very important that we do that. Forgive and release. And if you have to go back to it the next day because it comes back up, forgive and release. And eventually it's going to fade out because you're putting a cause out there that has an effect. And that effect is that you're getting rid of the negative causes. That makes sense. I can't. The next principle of gender. And it's not what you think. Quote, gender is everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests on all planes, end quote. This is where my spiritual bug comes in. The principle applies to the physical, mental, and spiritual plane. This also goes back to polarity. And the book, The Keys to the Universe, The Key of Destiny. Why? Masculine, positive, feminine, negative, poles. Again, don't take the connotation of positive, negative. We're talking about magnetism, my friends, magnetism. Okay. You have to have both. Creation cannot exist without this principle. We all encompass both masculine and feminine aspects in all of us. It's the truth. We all encompass male and female aspects in our personality, our character, and some are more outwardly than inwardly, and more inwardly than outwardly. So you can consider somebody like a tomboy, a girl who has more masculine wants and needs. So someone who wants to play sports with the guys, like that's me. Most of my upbringing was playing with the boys instead of the girls. I wasn't into girly things. And not to say that I don't inhabit girly things. I wear makeup, I do my hair, I put nail polish on, I wear rings and jewelry and try to look pretty and put cute little outfits together. Yes, that's my feminine side and I embrace it, but for the most part, especially during winter, I'm very masculine. I wear combat boots and jeans with a chain wallet and a t-shirt and a flight jacket. Most of my stuff is male. The clothes that I wear in the winter is mostly male gendered clothing, brands and stuff. I think female clothes are too, they cut everything to the wrong extent and you're freaking cold. No offense. I don't wear clothes to be fashionable. I wear them to actually protect my body from the elements. But that's the same thing with men. A lot of men suppress their feminine side, like crying and expressing themselves emotionally. There are men that do, and I'm not saying they don't, but that's one component of masculinity that's been suppressed in society. They, men don't cry. There's no crying in baseball. It's the stereotypes, it's the division, it's the demasculating, it's the inversion that's happening in our society as we currently are seeing it. It's toxic, but at the same time, when you're studying this principle, you have to understand the nature of what the masculine and feminine are. You have to understand on a spiritual and a mental level, not your outwardly appearance of what you bring to the, show to the world. You have to balance them because you have both aspects of that in your personality and in your person. For me, it was really hard to level them both out. I used to work for a gym. I used to be a lifeguard for a very, very, very long time. And I had a free gym membership. So I would be, killing it in the gym and super muscular. And I lost a lot of my feminine qualities because the way my body developed muscle, I lost those things. They didn't bubble out and they didn't look flattering. I did not look flattering. I went overboard. But I was happy. But I had to look in the mirror when a lot of the guys used to say, Allison, you know, you would be more attractive, and not to say that you're not, but like your frame and the way you are, you need to like cut it out a little bit and be a little bit more vulnerable. You know, that we all have roles for each other. So, and this is not to go into swapping and the physicality and the things going on, and this is actually like more of an inner thing that we have to deal with. WanderingAlchemist.com states, gender comes from the Latin root meaning to beget, procreate, to generate, to create or produce. The Hermetics does deal with the actual physicality. In Hermeticism, the principle of gender allows us to understand and witness the operation of both masculine and feminine energies, working together to form all things in existence, physical, mental, and spiritual. We witness the dance of masculine and feminine energies and the creation of atoms through the union of electrons or corpuscles. Through the union of positive and negative charges in conjunction with vibration, we get the manifestations of light, heat, electricity, magnetism, alteration, repulsion, chemical affinity, and the reverse and similar phenomena in the physical in our universe. My co-host has joined me. And I have to move my thing so my co-host can have her little space. And it's true. We wouldn't have magnets. We wouldn't be able to use things if we didn't have all those components come together like a beautiful dance, singing and humming and vibrating with frequency all together. We wouldn't have it. Especially in the time where we're moving in. You know, when I was watching that podcast earlier, what has happened to our planet collectively? Most of us had a cause and effect in it throughout our different incarnations, put it that way. And we were brought here for this time in and now to watch this old planet kind of take a shit and kind of re-cleanse and renew herself, Mother Gaia. And it'd be up to us who can stably control, manifest, learn, and create the new earth. It's a consciousness, but it's also action. It's also doing. It's also manifesting what we want our worlds to be, and on a collective scale, not just, I want a yacht and I want a mansion. And no, because it's not helping everybody. What is going to help everybody? Clean food that's not poisoned or tainted with chemicals or altered genetically. We want better technology that is not tapping into natural resources. So the illusion of electric cars is wonderful, but where does that lithium come from? Still destroying the planet, by the way. So you gotta understand that we are here to build a new world. Many of us will live through the cataclysms and whatever have you, whatever comes up. No one really knows what's going to happen. You can listen to one person, you can listen to 100 million. Everybody has a different perception, opinion, and gets different channelings, knowings. They're all different. No one's correct because the timelines keep shifting. Things are reverberating from the higher planes. They're reverberating down. See, she eats paper. She eats paper. My little muffin. All of this I got a care package today. Very thankful to some of my viewers who know that, you know, these are very inexpensive. Send me some really good stuff. We're just remembering all this. We know it already in ourselves. Honestly, all of this is already learned knowledge we have in ourselves. The problem is when we have the veil of forgetting, we forget this information, but it's in our DNA. It's in our quantum computer. We just have to be able to learn how to access that. And that's kind of been hindered from us and kind of destroyed. So when going over and like literally we're relearning this stuff. I read the Keys of Enoch and I was like blown away at how much of my knowing, like things I already innately knew, were in that book, and it validated, like literally validated me. Like, get the chills. The same thing with the Law of One. I read it 17 years ago in college. I didn't process it to read it in the time of now because it's in need now. Back then, it was just another metaphysical book that I was like, whoa, this is mind-blowing information. But I didn't know what to do with the information. Now, holy shit, we need to remember this for now. We need to start waking our brains up for now. We need to do the internal work to balance ourselves, our emotions, how we feel. And it's not to say not to have the emotions. Oh, that's a mosquito. Poopy. It's not to say that we shouldn't have the pendulum swinging. We're human and it's going to swing. But it's coming into the acknowledgement that you can balance those energies out. So you're not over or under reacting. You're coming in a neutral place, looking at it, things objectively, and not allowing it to like succumb into your unconscious and make you crazy. And then it affects and reverberates everything outside of you in your environment that messes everything up. And of course, there's going to be catalysts and things that are put in your path to test you, because this is what it is. This is just a big test. It's just like the game of World of Warcraft. You're going, you go through your quest. You might not get everything in your quest, so you have to go back and do it again until you get the quest right. Like karma. If you didn't get the lesson in the last life, you got it in this life. You didn't know that you didn't pass that lesson in the last life. It's erased from you. But now it's showing up again. And now people are starting to like see the cycles of shit that is reverberating back. And now you have the tools to understand, at least, hopefully, I'm hoping I'm conveying something that can help you guys to go, wait a minute, I need to break that thought. I don't like the way I'm feeling, or I don't like the way I'm reacting. I don't like how that's triggering me. Why is it triggering me? And analyze it. Like, no, I really shouldn't overreact over something so trivial that is now going to ruin the rest of my day and how I react with other people, like people cutting you off in traffic. Or maybe that person had to pee or have to go to the bathroom. Maybe they have diarrhea, people. You don't know. People are jerks and just do it to do it, but some people really have a real legit reason. You know, when I have to go to the bathroom, I have to go to the bathroom. People go to, you know, here they limited the speed limit to 25. You could drop dead, and that's also a gas guzzling shit storm. But sometimes you have to go around people and be like, I'm sorry, I gotta go. And not because I have to go to a job, I have to go to the bathroom. You know, you can't judge. You gotta, just putting that out there. I know all of us have been in those situations, or we really don't feel good and we're gonna bar for whatever have you that might trigger somebody else. But if you come into, you got it. Sorry, bug. Sending you to the love and light and giving you peace. When you realize and comprehend that you can't control everything and a lot of things are outside of your control, the only way you can control yourself is through yourself. So how do you do that? Change your mind frame, change your mindset. Maybe somebody's reacting to you in such a crazy way because you're reflecting back their behavior to them. Don't take everything so personal. It's all about the balance of self-exploration and self-mastery. By staying in tune with all laws of the universe, the alchemists will become the great being of light the Creator intended, taking full responsibility for their actions and capable of creating a more beautiful world. That's something that lacks in the world. People are not being responsible for the actions that they take on a higher ended scale. I do have a problem with what's going on with our government in the United States, because there is a shadow government, even though they're really good and doing really good things. It's still a part of the Constitution that if there is treason and outside forces that are within, that there should be action. And we're still waiting. And it's still against the Constitution for their non-action. And if they said that there was action to the mass populace and brought out all of, you know, we have it all, well, okay, I get it. And I know things happen in divine timing, but how much more are you going to stall the action that you took an oath to? That's not helping in solving the problem that humanity has. That's not waking people up. And sometimes people need a smack in the face to wake up. And again, not everybody's destined to wake up. It's all a part of the divine plan. It's what you arranged. Everybody made an arrangement to be here, and everybody's role is different. You're on the stage, the grand stage, playing a role out. The biggest thing is you have the free will not to be the pawn, not to be the clone, the drone, the manipulated piece on the board. You have the free will to up that consciousness level so that you are the player controlling the pawns. And that's not to say that you are, you know, hurting anybody. That's that you are putting yourself in a higher place and position to be able to manipulate your environment for the greatest of good. They've been playing for the manipulation of the bad. Again, you have to have both dualities, but unfortunately, in our paradigm, the negative influence has been heavily dominated for eons. And now the divine feminine is coming in to balance out the divine masculine energy. This world has been very heavily emasculated. The feminine has been taken out of just nearly everything. They are demeaning women in so many ways every day. It's disgusting. And yet, you need both to create, but the woman is the one that births the creation. Without the woman, you don't have the man. Women cannot repopulate the world if there's no man. But without the woman, you would have nothing. So you have to have both. You have to have both. And they have to sing in unison together. Right now, we're not singing in unison. We're singing in ego. Not to say the ego is completely bad either, but we're seeing the energy's playing itself out. They're fighting right now. The feminine energy is like being the big PMSy bitch, coming down and slapping the male like, you're done. You need to take a step back. Know your role, but know that my role has been stolen from me for eons. Now it's my turn to be the dominant force. You got to take a little step back. And then we can balance this. We can balance out once I become a little on the domineering side. And then we'll balance our energies out so everything has an even flow. That's what's happening on a spiritual level. For too long, the masculine energy has been ruling. They've taken the feminine out of a lot of things. And now the feminine's coming back, and the feminine's planting herself in her righteous place, as it should have always been. It's both that create, not just one. And we have to keep that in mind when we're balancing ourselves. If we feel that we have more of a dominant trait or an aspect of ourselves is more masculine or more feminine, that's wonderful. But you need to acknowledge the other polar opposite of yourself. And you incorporate it into your life slowly. Yeah, you know, men can wear pink and not be called derogatory names. Women can go hunting looking like men. It don't matter. The roles, the internal aspects that we project, we need to balance them out. It's okay for men to cry and be emotional, and it's okay for women to be assholes. I mean, some of us really are. But we need to tap into the soft and the bad sides of ourselves, the positive and the negative polarities of ourselves. We have to, and we have to balance it out. And a lot of us aren't even conscious of those things. So I'm hoping with going through the 7 principles, and they're all interrelated, they all lace in together. You can lace it all, but the bigger aspects is the polarity that weaves into the rhythm, that weaves into the gender, because masculine and feminine in the keys to the universe is positive and negative. And cause and effect. Because when you apply all of that together, it's what you're reverberating. It's a frequency that you are emoting. It's the vibration that you're putting out into your toroidal field. It's what you are magnetizing back towards you. And that feed loop, it's a feedback loop, keeps coming in and out and in and out. And if you keep projecting good, eventually it's going to come back to you. I'm just hoping mine comes back this lifetime. But it will come back to you. If you keep putting out negative stuff, you're going to keep getting negative back. I don't agree with that all the time because some things are external, out of your control. And then you have to deal with it. You have to internalize it and go, okay, still sucks. It's all about your mindset. But, you know, as you're hungry, you can't be thinking of rainbows and tutus and unicorns and, you know, kitty cats when you're starving and you really can't feed yourself. You know, that's not realistic. And that doesn't help your actual issue, does it? No. So everything has to be logically compiled. But I felt like going through each of those 4 because they all interlace heavily together. And I knew that if I did it the last one, it would have went on forever. So I'm not done with this book either. There's a lot more to cover, and I'll do that the next time. But I feel like getting the 7 principles down pat, packaged nicely all together, so that we can understand when we go further into the book and into the concepts. A lot of people did a lot of writing and a lot of philosophy will go into about this book and about the principles and about like how this affects our everyday lives. I gave some examples today, but it's not the finite perfect examples. They're just from my perspective. And this kitty's perspective, my eater of paper. My cat ate my homework, guys. But she's too sweet to yell at, as you are. So with that, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Kybalion. The 7 principles now are complete, and then we'll do more fun next time. Sending each and every one of you love and light. I hope you have a great weekend. Please be safe. Please be seen wherever you are. And again, if anything in my work sparks a light bulb, a connection, a connect the dot, an epiphany, give you more resources to look in different places, please consider supporting my work. It helps me. It helps me continue to do this and to help others, especially those just newly awakened. I like to be the stepping stone to greater and better things, and to greater and more, the vast amount of people who are super into their one topic that you can get way more information off of. I just like to be the bridge. That's my job and my mission right now. So I hope all of you have a great day. Old lady says, have a good night, guys. She's tired. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye, guys.